Hello, I'm Mark Price. I'd like to talk to you today about change. Do you wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning, God"? Or do you say, "Good God morning"? Do we wake up in the morning wanting to spend our day with God and seeing God for all the wonderful things He created? Or do we wake up and blame God for, another day in quarantine, or I have to go to my doldrum job, or I have to spend the day with these people? Do we blame God or do we embrace God? The gospel today, I'm not going to read it, the books are right below on the screen, John 6:22 through 29. It takes place just after the feeding of the 5,000. So Jesus has just fed 5,000 men, remember. Women and children were extra, maybe closer to 20,000, some people believe. And he's tired, the disciples are tired. Jesus goes up to the side of the mountain to pray and to rest, to relax. The disciples get into the boat to go across Lake Gennesareth, the Sea of Tiberias, to the other side, to Capernaum. And Jesus said that he'll meet them there in the morning. So the next morning, that whole crowd that had been fed, both on the word of Jesus through his teachings all day, and then by the feeding of the 5,000, they were looking for Jesus. They wanted more, and they couldn't find him. They looked everywhere, and then they heard that he was across over in Capernaum, and they couldn't figure out how he got to the other side. They saw the disciples leave, and there was one more boat there, but it was still there. It didn't go. So how did Jesus get from one side to the other side? You see, they were so focused on the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 that they missed another miracle. Jesus walking on water to meet the other disciples and get into their boat. That's the problem with us, is we get so caught up in focusing on one thing that we miss so many other wonderful things. And Jesus is telling us in today's gospel, what we have to do is stop focusing on the things of the world, stop focusing on the things that the world says is important, and start focusing on the things that bring us to an understanding and a belief in who He is. He's telling us to go back to that first moment when we in our own lives came to understand and believe in who Jesus was. That's why, for example, when Jesus had risen from the dead and the two women went to see him at the tomb, Jesus tells them that they're to go to the others and tell them to meet him in Galilee. Why Galilee? Well, it's Galilee where he started his ministry. It's Galilee where people first came to know who he was. And Jesus is saying, go back to that point when you first came to believe in me, understand who I was, how your heart felt, how your mind felt. Go back to that feeling. Go back to that first encounter. And when we do that, we're reminded who Jesus is. Jesus in today's gospel is telling us to change from the human mindset and go back and remember who Jesus is so that we can adjust our entire thinking and our entire life. Everybody that Jesus came in contact with and who believed in him, their life changed. For some, it was in small ways. They had a change of attitude, a change of thoughts, a change of direction in their life. Some were healed. They were blind. They could then see. They were unable to walk. They could then walk. Lazarus was dead and came back to life. So some in small ways and some in dramatic ways, but everyone was changed. When Jesus met the woman at the well, he started talking to her at the well. There were 5 stages of her change, of her conversion. And finally it says when she realized, it dawned on her who Jesus really was, that moment, that encounter moment for her, what does it say? It says she left her water jug behind and went into the town to tell everyone about Jesus. And what does it mean when it says she left her water jug behind? You see, every word in Scripture is important. I believe it means she left her water jug behind. She left her old ways behind. She was changed. Once she knew who Jesus was in her mind and in her heart, she was changed. What does it say about about the wise men when they came to Jesus and found him. He was 2 years old. They gave him the gold, the frankincense, and myrrh. They told Joseph and Mary about King Herod wanting their son dead. What does it say about when they left? It says they took a different path. That says to me that when we come to understand in our mind and our heart who Jesus is, our life changes. We take a different path. We become different people. We treat people differently. We act differently. But we have to remember that Jesus is always calling on us to change, because we're in this constant battle with what the secular world wants us to think and wants us to believe, and what he calls us to believe. If we're going to be embracing God in heaven, we have to believe in him. Are we waking up in the morning blaming God for everything, saying, "Good God, morning"? Or are we waking up in the morning as a changed mind and a changed heart and saying, "Good morning, God. Thank you for all the wonderful things you've given me in my life"? This is Mark Price. Thanks for listening.